All right, you're up.
Speaking of Drew Lock, this is one I'm going to go to the play call first, and then we're going to go ahead and break it down. So let's go ahead and run that, and then we'll come back and recap it.
Shotgun snap, free blitzer. Lock gets blasted, throws the ball that is contested and incomplete inside the 3-yard line. Jerry Jeudy was the Broncos receiver. A.J. Terrell was there. And I think Deion Jones got a free run at Drew Lock.
I could see it on the TV. I saw it coming. The whole world saw it coming. And somehow Drew Lock didn't see it coming. There was also a missed block on that play as well with the, they talk about the free blitzer there. But it was just a combination. Everybody in the world should have known he was coming, and the quarterback's got to know he's coming, and the offensive line's got to know he's coming, and somehow neither one of them did. It was just bad. It's bad to watch. And when you got young guys like that, sometimes stuff gets missed. But that's part of the thing. You should have one or the other that should be able to pick up on that, and they didn't. And again, led to an incompletion. Just more yardage left on the field due to not identifying things pre-snap.
Sometimes you notice with young quarterbacks, and I don't know if this is that circumstance, but I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Sometimes you notice with young quarterbacks, they have this invincibility mindset of like, I can make the play. I can make this throw because you know what? It worked probably for most of their life in high school and college. They could make throws. Hey, free blitzer, who cares? I got an extra second because I am that kind of athlete. I don't know if he still has that mindset. I would hope he doesn't still have that mindset, but he does seem to maybe see it, but not do very much about it. So it's not like he wouldn't see those things because everybody saw it, but then why did you do nothing about it? What did you think was going to happen?
Right. And so that there's just not, you motion somebody, you move somebody, you let them know, you tell somebody, you point it out, whatever you need to do, but they did nothing, and they, so much the worse for it.
All right. I'm going to go to another unfortunate play for Drew Lock, and this is the interception. Now, I want to get a little bit of a breakdown from you on this because the way I saw it and the way that Drew talked about it after the game was that it was it was the right play to go after Jerry Jeudy. Now, mechanics aside, where he's throwing off his back foot and throwing sidearm, I think we can both agree that that's not necessarily a recipe for success. But he said that Jerry Jeudy was still the read, even though KJ Hamler was coming underneath because it was a levels, and you had KJ Hamler underneath. And that seemed like the much easier completion. So I want you to break this down for me, but here's Dave's call.
Shotgun snap, quick pressure on Locke, who throws an interception in the middle of the field. That ball intercepted and still on his feet. That is Ricardo Allen. I'm not sure what in the world happened there. Locke got very quick pressure and then threw the ball right in the middle of the field.
Now, first of all, as you've aptly pointed out already on the show, they were coming up the middle. I mean, and we knew they were going to be kind of doing that anyways because Grady Jarrett's their best defensive player.
Well, they were without their ends. We knew that was going to be coming. So,
so you knew Grady Jarrett was going to be coming, or at least they were going to get some defensive pressure up the middle. They were doing that all game long. And this is one where Drew Lock fading back again instead of maybe taking a little bit of a sidestep, which sometimes he does, but more times than not, he's fading back. Give me a little bit of your breakdown on what happened in that, because like I said, Hamler underneath on the shallow seemed like the right play when your clock all of a sudden was sped up.
Well, let's start from the beginning. It's drive concept, but it's levels, and as you pointed out, and the idea is to put all those receivers in line so you can read high to low and just get it to whomever, as long as you've got the time. It's a keyed read off the inside backer that's in there. When Jerry Jeudy goes up the field, if the inside backer takes him the whole way, then you go to KJ Hamler underneath because he can't bite that route. But as soon as the linebacker flips his hips, you know he's giving up on the back pedal and going with Jeudy and actually switching and going horizontal with KJ Hamler, which means that as soon as Jerry Jeudy hits the pivot and hits his plant point, he's going to be open. And so it was accompanied, and Drew made the right read. That is correct, that Jerry Jeudy was the one, even though it would seem maybe that KJ is the easier throw. It would seem, based on your read, that you should be throwing to Jerry Jeudy. So what Drew Lock should have done, instead of fading back and throwing off his back foot and chucking a sidearm interception up, is maybe turn that into a quarter boot to the right-hand side, because all those players are running left to right. That's going to buy you more time and allow you to put the ball out there and catch them in stride. So that's his mistake there. His mistake was trying to bail on the with the back foot and walking backwards and just chuck it up there. That's the onus is on Drew Lock. He messed up on the throw, and the onus is on him on that play.
Okay. I appreciate the breakdown because I've watched it a few times. maybe more than I'm willing to admit.
But if you watch, and you can watch this from the snap, Jerry Jeudy's on the inside, and he drives that linebacker up like he's supposed to. And then as soon as and you're reading that, because you got to watch 1, 2, 3, you got to watch that linebacker. And as you watch that linebacker, and then you see him flip his hips to go the other direction, that's the point where you know he's no longer in the back pedal and he's going horizontal. He's past the receiver out of his zone, and he's going back the other direction to take away the shallow. And that's where you know you got to hit Jeudy.
All right, you're up.
These are both there's 2 plays here, and you absolutely cannot do this. This is just mental errors on the Denver Broncos. You cannot do this. You were in the hunt, you were coming back, and you cannot give up 30 yards in penalties to Matt Ryan and the Falcons on a single drive on what are almost back-to-back plays.
Yep, and the timing of it, too, was really rough because, the Broncos get the ball out of the half, they drive down, they get a field goal. Okay, well, you would have loved to get 7 there, but you didn't get it. You got Matt Ryan to throw an interception. You didn't do much with it, but then you give the ball back to the Falcons still, like you said, in it, and obviously it devolved from there.
Denver rushes 5. Screen set up. Gurley gets a block, but Alexander Johnson did a great job of fighting off the block from Chris Lindstrom and in to make the tackle. It's a gain of 5. That, Rick, could have been a play that would have gone, and a penalty, by the way, could have gone for big yards.
Roughing the passer. Defense, number 55. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
That's a killer, roughing the passer penalty on Bradley Chubb. So instead of a 3rd down and about 2, this will be an automatic first down. Play fake. Ryan's in trouble, dumps the ball on the flat, and immediately knocked down as Hayden Hurst. Penalty flag thrown in the play. Alexander Johnson got to Hurst almost as soon as he caught the ball. Now we'll wait and see what this flag is about. That was going to be a loss on the play, but let's see. Kareem Jackson.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Defense, number 22. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
So they call Kareem Jackson, who gave Hurst a big shot. It was the crown of his helmet that first made contact with Hurst's helmet. You know that Kareem is a tough defender, but he also has earned the reputation, and I'm sure other teams talk to officials about, hey, you got to watch 22.
I was worried about that this week after last week with K-Jack and a couple of those hits that went unflagged. But let's go back. Bradley Chubb did not need to push Matt Ryan down. Just didn't need to do it. You had a play that you'd stopped them short. They had, got 5 yards on a screen. It could have gone better. It was perfectly executed. And then you give a first down. You give 15 yards and a first down and get a chance to reset that drive. And then the K-Jack thing, that's just inexcusable. You get into the end of the drive, you can't lower with the crown. You know this. You've been a heat-seeking missile for the last 2 weeks. You got to get yourself under control.
And then, on the very next play, you want to talk about how the frustrations boil over at that point. You had Jeremiah Tachu had Matt Ryan dead to rights, coming in full steam, and Matt Ryan does a little, Olay thing, from Major League, and scrambles for 12 yards. Just a comedy of errors on that whole drive. 2 plays later, he hits Julio Jones for the touchdown and just absolutely puts Michael Ojemudia in the wash. That drive really kind of, for me, even though they still had a chance later on before Drew Lock threw his interception, that drive for me was kind of the indication, okay, this is not going to be a game they're winning. Yeah,
it really did kind of put the icing on it at that point, where you were like, well, maybe they can mount some kind of comeback, but it's probably going to be too little too late, as we saw. And you just, you can't give up a third of the field in 2 plays on penalties. And really it wasn't a third of the field because they weren't at the 0-yard line. So you can't do that.
No, you certainly can. And for the Broncos, there's going to be some learning lessons out of this. And I think obviously one of the biggest ones is you really did miss a lot of your talented defensive players. Shelby Harris wasn't in there. A.J. Bouye, Bryce Callahan. You missed some really talented players that kind of keep this team's wits about them. And that was a perfect example. That drive sort of encapsulated the entire game, really.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it showed that the margins are so thin because so many guys are out that you can't have penalties like that. You can't make stupid mistakes, silly mistakes. You can't do it because the margins are already thin, even thinner when you get your corners out as well.